You need just 5 things to guarantee GCSE success. This is a comprehensive framework to help you get the best possible grades that you can get. Welcome to Mission Undercover. The first thing that you need to build is belief and mindset. You actually have to have the confidence that you can achieve the best grades, the top grades, and believe that you are a top student to actually make your success a reality. You have to have an ambitious goal, like getting all nines, to really push you to compete with others around you and perform the best. Competition is what drives all animals, and it's no different for humans. It's what really gives you the motivation to attain success. Think of yourself like a tiger. You have to fight the other tigers to earn respect and move up the ranks of society. Otherwise, you'll be isolated and you will starve to death. You will be ostracized and you will not attain any advancement within your life. Similarly, we have to compete to survive in the world as well. We have to make our way by beating the people around us, by outcompeting them. Let me tell you a personal story. I used to be terrible at sciences when I was in year 9, but then I changed my mindset. I stopped aiming for just a decent score and I started aiming for 100%, the highest possible marks. I did not want to lose any marks in my exams. I stopped thinking about sacrificing marks. I started trying to attain the best possible score that I could get. I applied this to every single subject, and I also drilled into my mind the belief that I am good at science. This was transformative. Obviously, mindset is not panacea. It won't solve all of your problems, but it is the first step towards actually improving your outcomes, and is highly influential in making sure that you have the opportunity to actually attain the best possible outcomes that you can get. It'll give you the best possible chance to maximize your success. The second step is memorization. You need to find out what works best for you to memorize all the content that you need to learn. This could be mind maps, this could be flashcards, this could just be plain linear notes, but I personally don't recommend that, obviously. I personally use mind maps for essay subjects and flashcards for history and just my notes for sciences, but I mainly rely on practice questions to make sure that I'm learning all the content and that I'm able to apply it effectively in the exam situation. Active recall through exam questions is the best way to learn information long term. Obviously, you need some method to learn things in the short term, whether that's cramming information or whether that's using a form of note-taking like flashcards or mind maps, but you are primarily going to be relying on practice questions to make sure that something is solidified in your long-term memory. For subjects like geography and history, you'll still need to cram in the facts before the exam, like right before, just trying to get all the case study information into your head. But long-term repetition also helps you remember that more easily. For English, it's quite similar with the fact that you have to cram in the quotes right before the exam, but mostly you need to have a good technique of memorization that relies on actually applying the information you learn in an exam situation, especially for sciences, because most of the science exams are based more on application and how you apply the information that you've been given. And just cramming it in before won't actually help you implement it effectively in the exam, especially for physics. But at least you have some relief and some reprieve with English language. Nothing to memorize there. Just go in the exam and apply how to answer the questions and make sure that you're doing them in the best possible way. So to summarize, pick your revision method, revise regularly in a process of spaced repetition to make sure that you're solidifying the knowledge that you get within your long-term memory. Use exam practice and active recall to make that memory of all the content as solid and as secure as possible. And then cram the facts for some certain subjects right before the exam to make sure that you have all the information you need to write down in the exam question. The third step is practice questions. You need to do every single exam paper for your spec. When you go into PMT, you need to do every exam paper from 2017 to 2024, or whenever the oldest one is. This will make sure that you know exactly what type of questions can come up. Nothing will surprise you, nothing will faze you, and you will be able to answer the questions as effectively as possible because you know everything possible that could come up, and you're fully prepared to see what can come up and challenge you. If you have good memorization techniques and you go through every exam paper multiple times, that almost guarantees you a 9. But you also need to learn from your mistakes. You need to learn from your exam practice. That's why you need a mistake document to make sure that you're implementing the lessons that you learn and actually making sure that you are applying the knowledge that you've gained and that you are learning from the mistakes that you've made to make sure that you don't make them again and you're actually improving the score that you get. So what you need to do is, after you do any past paper, and after you do all of the past papers, make sure that you take a screenshot of the questions you got wrong and paste them into one Word document. Then you're going to get a separate Word document and paste in the mark scheme for those questions. In this way, you've created a personalized, curated exam paper that is going to help you to iron out any errors and any faults in your knowledge and your information, and make sure that you're actually learning from your errors. So when you are doing your final revision, you're going to go through this mini exam paper of mistakes that you made previously and make sure that you're not repeating those in the exam. And the mark scheme is going to have the word solutions, so how you actually go through answering those questions. This is especially important for maths. You can write out all the steps that you need to do. You can write out all the different processes that you need to actually learn for it. And this way, you'll be able to actually improve and build on the revision and the work that you're doing to actually improve your score and actually get better. Step to success is general productivity. You need good routines and systems that act as guardrails to support your progress. I recommend that you wake up early to work towards your goals and focus on the most important tasks that are going to give you the best possible outcomes. If you want proper details about this, you should check out shamalam.7 on YouTube. The reason that waking up early is better is because there's limited distractions and your brain is at its most active. Deep work is the best way of working because it signals to your brain that you're fully focused, that you're fully locked in, and that nothing can distract you from outside. You need to have a signal to your brain that you're ready to work, and then a signal to your brain that you're finished with what you're working. So I start with meditation when I'm doing any work, and then I finish with picking up my phone or going and drinking some water. Find the routine that is best for you and find the systems that actually complement the way that you live your life. The important thing is that you work at the same time every day to build consistency so that you can have that compound effect that builds up over time to give you the highest possible outcomes and the best possible results. You should ideally work in blocks of 90 minutes. This balances getting into the flow state with how tired you get after working for long periods of time. Deep, focused work puts you in the flow state. This is where you are so deeply locked in and so focused that you are getting your optimum output, the best possible outcomes. Have you ever been working and not even noticed the time pass by? This is a sign that you are within this nirvana state. I personally love this state because it feels like you've made so much progress despite working for such little time. It feels like you are getting the best possible output from your brain. And I find that once I start working, it's actually quite difficult to stop, once you're in that flow, it gets easier and easier to continue working and continue making progress. But getting started is the hardest part. That is why having a fixed time where you actually do your work is so important to help you beat that procrastination so that you're not distracted, so that you're not having external focuses divert your attention from the things that you actually need to get done. So after this, you need to decide what to prioritize. Economist Vilfredo Pareto devised the Pareto principle. Spend 80% of the time on the most important tasks and 20% on other stuff that is still helpful towards your goals, but not as relevant. So for us as GCSE students, 80% has to be exam practice and 20% on notes or whatever other stuff that you need to do to get your progress towards the grade that you want. That's how you clarify what you actually should prioritize when you're trying to get some work done. So you should primarily be focusing on practice questions, not making resources, not any other things like writing notes or rereading your notes. You need to be focused on that one thing that's going to get you the highest possible success, the best possible outcomes, and the greatest output. And finally, you need to have a supportive environment. When your workspace is cluttered and unappealing, it's going to increase the friction that is preventing you, the resistance that is stopping you from working. It's going to make actually doing your work less appealing, less easy. You need to remove all possible friction, all the barriers that are preventing you from actually getting started on your work. And that means having a comfortable and appealing workspace that actually motivates you towards actually getting started, towards doing your work. In your workspace, you need to emphasize that intrinsic motivation. Write your goal down and post it in your workspace so that you feel that guilt every time you neglect it, and so that you get that intrinsic motivation to attain success. If you have an ambitious goal, then it's actually going to motivate you to compete with others, to compete with yourself, to try and achieve it. What I do is I write down all my goals in my Notion space, and I've written down exactly this. I want all nines in my GCSE. You need that ambition to actually drive you towards success. Ambition is an innate human quality. It is what actually drives you towards getting things done. It's what drives you to actually make progress towards your goals. And without that ambition, you will be lost and you'll be wayward and you're far less likely to actually get the results that you want. The fifth and final step is exam day routine. What you do on exam day is actually really important. Don't look over too much information last minute. I find that when I look over a lot of information last minute, like I look through my notes just before the exam, it actually makes me forget what I actually have solidified beforehand. I suggest that you only look over something if you're certain that you've forgotten it. If you actually need to check that, is this right? Am I remembering this right? If you're actually uncertain about it, then that's when you need to actually go through and check if you're actually getting it right. So my plan is for the next mocks and for the actual GCSE to not talk to anyone 10 to 15 minutes before the exam. I want to completely clear my head. I don't want all those random people coming up to me saying, "Oh, do you need to know electrolysis? Have you revised oligopolies? Have you seen this? Have you seen that?" I don't want all these distractions distracting me from the knowledge that I have and from the performance that I want to get out. If all these distractions are there, then it's going to actually inhibit me from getting the best possible outcome, from being in the ultimate flow state for my brain, from being in the highest maximum output I can get. I want to be as calm as possible. And all these people are just going to stress you out. So I suggest that you bar yourself from people. That kind of sounds a bit antisocial, but you need to bar yourself from all the people around you who are trying to distract you, who are trying to derail you from your optimum performance. I also advise you to meditate in the morning before your exam to relax your mind and make it easier for you to focus so that you can get into that flow state and get the optimum performance from your brain, the optimum output. And another important thing is don't use social media or high dopamine activities or information heavy stuff on exam day. You need to avoid all of this. You have to prime your brain for the optimum performance possible, and you have to eliminate all external distractions. You need to have all the conditions in your favor to make sure that you're getting success, to make sure that you're not being defeated by your enemies. Finally, food and water. I say that you shouldn't take water into your exam because when you look up from the paper to drink water, it's going to break your focus. You're far more likely to be distracted if there is water there to draw you away from your exam paper, draw you away from the flow state. We don't want to take that risk if we're trying to get the best possible grade, if we're trying to maintain the optimum level of focus. You can survive 90 minutes without water. It's not that difficult, and it's a sacrifice worth making. If you're Muslim, then your fasting experience will also help you. Your salah and your prayer will help you as well, because it helps you maintain high levels of focus and clarity of goals and vision. In terms of your breakfast or your lunch or whatever you eat before the exam, don't eat high carb stuff. It actually increases your brain fog and makes your brain output less strong. So you need to make sure that you're not eating stuff like that that's going to reduce your prime performance. Also, don't be one of those people who chugs a whole Red Bull before the exam or drinks a bunch of caffeine. I've actually seen that live, someone chugging a Red Bull right before the exam. This actually gives you energy for the start, but then towards the end of the paper, you're crashing and then you're not getting the optimum possible outcome. So what you actually need is simple steps and clarity, and that's far better than the artificial vitality that caffeine or nicotine gives you. That's why actually having natural ways of improving your performance is far better than drugs and steroids. It's the same with this situation. Your brain doesn't work different to the rest of your body. That's why you need to make sure that you're caring for the health aspects of your performance as well. Summarize, you need ambitious goals and an elite mindset, a drive to try and be the best. That's step one. Step two, you need revision techniques that actually work for you to help with memorization. And you need exam practice for active recall and spaced repetition to support that memorization, to support you actually remembering all the content that you've learned. Third thing, you need a mistake document to help you learn from your errors. Fourth, you need good habits and good routines to help you actually build the systems that can help you build consistency to actually improve over time. And finally, you need to optimize your exam day to get the maximum possible output. You need to eliminate distractions and make sure that you are in the prime state to actually work towards your success. This is a comprehensive framework for GCSE success. If you implement all of these techniques, then you are almost guaranteed to get the highest possible outcomes. So join me in making your dreams a reality. Together, we can beat this cruel system and show them that their vituperative and vindictive examination regime will not phase us, will not vanquish us, but will give us success. Thanks for watching and listening. Make sure to like and subscribe for updates on future videos. Check out my English Literature Guide video on YouTube. This has been Mission Undercover, and I hope to see you all next time.